season. Now, something that stuck out to me that someone sent me, shout out to the homeboy Mike over at Twitter, is this CEO and co-founder of Project B. This guy right here is a serious businessman. He's not just the internet guy. He's a serious guy and somebody you definitely want to pay attention to. Now, what did I tell y'all about Project B? I told y'all Project B was going to be the tide to lift all boats when it comes to women's basketball. Similar to how Caitlin Clark was. When Caitlin Clark came, she was a big splash. That's how this Project B is about to be.
Okay, so it looks like Caitlin Clark could be definitely signing with Project B, and gosh, this could be the biggest signing in women's sports history just got real, and the evidence, it's sitting right there on a co-founder's Instagram follow list, because we're talking about Caitlin Clark potentially heading to Saudi-backed Project B, where the numbers don't lie, and the timing is too perfect, so this isn't speculation anymore. This is receipts. But before we break this down, tell me, do you think she actually takes this deal? Drop your answer in the comments right now.
Now, he stated one of the co-founders of the new league is following Caitlin Clark. See the pictures below. This is interesting. So I'm like, let me see. Let me head on over here to to Instagram. So I noticed. I said, Grady Burnett. Who's this guy? Project B co-founder. He's only followed by, he's followed by Project B Global. No one in the WNBA is following this guy. But who is he following? And as we pull up his following list, let me blow this all over.
All right, what's happening, everyone? Your boy here with some actual news instead of the clickbait garbage floating around everywhere. And I'm not here to chase views with made-up drama like half these channels do. I'm here to give you real information you can actually use. And that's what separates the actual content from the noise. You know what I'm saying? Now here's the thing about Project B that everyone's sleeping on. This isn't some random cryptocurrency scam or internet startup that's gonna crash and burn in 6 months. We're talking about serious money from the Middle East, backing a legitimate women's basketball league. And we're talking about a business model that's actually designed to work, not a pipe dream, not a fantasy, actual business infrastructure with real investors who understand what they're getting into.
At this point in time, it doesn't seem like anybody can compete with Project B. They are getting, reportedly, 7-figure salaries, okay? And I'm sure that number will go up big time for players like Caitlin Clark. And we don't know yet if they've made her an offer, but I'm sure, you would be absolutely crazy for Project B to not go after Caitlin Clark. We talked about this ages ago. I was like, if Project B gets Caitlin Clark, it's wraps.
All the way up for you guys here with the co-founder, let's call him Grady Bennett, and this guy isn't just some random internet personality throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. He's a legitimate businessman who understands sports, understands investment, and understands what women's basketball actually needs to succeed. And he's not just throwing money at this, hoping it magically works, because this is calculated, this is strategic, this is thought out, and if you've been paying attention to how these deals work, you know what it means when a co-founder of a major league starts following specific players on Instagram. So here's where it gets interesting. Grady's only following about 100 people on Instagram, and that's a small curated list. That's not someone who follows everybody. That's someone who's intentional about their follows. And guess who just made that list? Caitlin Clark. And not only that, Sophie Cunningham is on there too. And Joel Lloyd got the follow. And these aren't coincidences, people. These are recent follows. And we're not talking about old follows from months ago that could mean anything. We're talking about follows that just happened, and we're talking about current activity. That's the kind of thing that matters when you're paying attention to the details. Now, what does following mean in the context of a major league signing? Everything. Absolutely everything. When you're a co-founder of a league that's about to announce massive signings, you don't randomly follow specific players unless there's something going on behind the scenes, and you're not scrolling through Instagram for fun at midnight because you're bored. You're not casually checking out basketball content in your downtime. You're strategic. You're purposeful. Every follow is a message. Every interaction is calculated. Every move is part of the bigger picture. So here's what makes this even more interesting. Nobody in the WNBA is following this guy. and not a single current WNBA player has him on their follow list. Not Breanna Stewart, not Jewel Lloyd, not Alyssa Thomas. Nobody from the established league is following the co-founder of Project, but the players who might be considering Project B, they're exactly who he's interested in. It's like he's building a specific network of people, and he's not trying to connect with the entire basketball world. He's not trying to follow every athlete and build some massive network. He's identifying specific targets, and those targets are women who have massive platforms, massive fan bases, and massive earning potential. Think about what Caitlin Clark represents in the basketball world. She's not just another basketball player who can shoot and play defense. She's a generational talent who changed the entire landscape of women's college basketball. She brought mainstream attention that the sport had never seen before. She made ESPN ratings go absolutely crazy, and we're talking about numbers that surprised even the network executives. She sold out arenas. She made little girls want to pick up a basketball and dream about playing professionally. She made casual fans who don't normally watch basketball suddenly tune in to see her play. That's the kind of impact we're talking about. And that's the kind of player who can legitimately change a league's trajectory overnight. Project B isn't trying to build the next WNBA clone or some minor league that operates in the shadows. They're trying to build something completely different, and they're trying to build something better, and they're not constrained by the existing framework that the WNBA operates under. They're not limited by traditional revenue streams that haven't changed in decades. They've got money, they've got backing from serious investors, they've got international capital behind them, and they've got investors who actually believe in women's basketball as a legitimate investment vehicle, not as charity or public relations. That's different from what we've seen before. That's revolutionary. Let's talk about what this means for women's basketball as a whole. The women's game has always had the talent, the athleticism, the drama, the storytelling, the rivalries, everything that makes basketball entertaining. But here's the honest truth that nobody wants to say out loud. It hasn't always been packaged in a way that draws mainstream audiences and keeps them engaged. It's not a talent problem. We've got incredible athletes. It's not an athletic problem. These women can ball out at the highest level. It's an entertainment and investment problem, and it's about how the product is presented, marketed, and funded. And when you have the right marketing, the right investment, the right infrastructure, and the right players with massive platforms and global appeal, everything changes. That's what Project B understands. That's what this Saudi backing provides, and they're not trying to prove that women can play basketball at a high level, because that's already proven. We've known this for years, we've known this for decades. They're trying to prove that women's basketball can be a multi-billion-dollar industry with massive global reach, and having Caitlin Clark would basically guarantee that's gonna happen because she's got the marketability and the talent. Let's be real about the money situation, because at the end of the day, that's what actually matters. Money is the ultimate motivator, and I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that passion and love of the game is enough. It's not. If you're making good money doing what you love, life is completely different, and if your paycheck is right, the motivation is different. If the financial security is there for you and your family, the performance is different. And if you're not worried about paying bills or your future, you can focus on playing the game. And Caitlin Clark has already proven she can ball out at the highest level. She's already proven she's a generational talent. The question is whether she's going to get properly compensated for the value she brings to whatever league she plays in. And the WNBA max salary is nowhere near what Project B can potentially offer. We're talking about potential differences that could literally be in the millions of dollars, and the kind of money that doesn't just change your career trajectory, it changes your entire life, and it changes your family's future for generations. It changes everything about your situation, and that's not something you take lightly, and that's not something you turn down lightly either, without serious consideration. Here's what the critics don't understand about the Saudi Arabia angle that keeps coming up. Yes, it's coming from Saudi Arabia, but so what? Money doesn't have a moral compass. Money doesn't care about politics. Money doesn't care about geography. Money just exists as a and if Project B is using that money to create genuine opportunities for women athletes, then that's what matters. And these players deserve to get paid what they're worth. They deserve to have professional opportunities that actually reflect their value to the game, as they deserve to have leagues that are genuinely invested in their success from a business perspective, not just treating them as a charity case or an afterthought. The timing of all this is absolutely crucial to understand. Caitlyn's done with her off-season training. She's working out. She's getting ready for the next professional season. She's had time to think about her career trajectory. She's had time to see what's possible in the basketball world. She's had time to have conversations with people behind the scenes. She's had time to weigh her options, and right now, a co-founder of a major new league is publicly following her on Instagram. And that's not an accident. That's not random. That's intentional messaging. What's absolutely crazy is thinking about the domino effect this could create if it actually happens. If Caitlin Clark signs with Project B, what happens next? Suddenly every major player in the WNBA is going to be looking at their options. And you think Alyssa Thomas isn't going to take a phone call from Project B. You think Jewel Lloyd isn't going to consider the opportunity. You think Diana Taurasi wouldn't come out of retirement for the right contract. You think Breanna Stewart isn't going to at least hear the pitch. That's the power of having one of the biggest basketball names in the world sign with your new league, and that's how you accelerate adoption and legitimacy. And here's where this gets absolutely wild and interesting. If this works for women's basketball and Project B becomes successful, the NBA players are going to be paying attention too, and you think retired NBA legends haven't noticed what's happening. You think active NBA players aren't going to wonder if there's an NBA equivalent coming. Imagine if retired NBA stars start signing with Project B, and imagine if active NBA players start seriously considering options outside the traditional NBA structure. That's when you know a league has truly become something significant. That's when you know you've built something that's not just a novelty or a side thing. That's when you know you've created something that's genuinely competitive and game-changing. The evidence is mounting, and it's hard to ignore if you're actually paying attention. One co-founder follows Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, and other key players who have massive followings and marketability, and none of these players follow him back, which actually makes perfect sense when you think about it strategically. You don't want to tip your hand before things are official. You don't want to signal to the media and the public before the formal announcement. The timing of these follows is recent and suspicious. The pattern is too clean to be random, and the strategy is too obvious if you know what to look for. This is what pre-announcement signaling looks like in the social media age, and this is how deals get telegraphed before the official word comes down. Now, could I be wrong about this? Sure, it's possible. Maybe Grady just really likes basketball and happens to follow a bunch of players for entertainment purposes. Maybe it's all coincidence, and I'm reading too much into it. Maybe there's nothing actually going on behind the scenes, but I don't think so based on what I'm seeing. And I think this is the real deal. I think the fix is in motion, and I think we're about to see one of the biggest player signings in women's basketball history that will change everything. Here's what happens next based on how these things typically play out. Project B is going to make an announcement soon, and it's going to be massive, and it's going to completely change the conversation around women's professional sports, and every sports network is going to cover it non-stop. Every podcast is going to dedicate episodes to talking about it. Every fan is going to be debating it online. The discourse is going to be everywhere, and suddenly women's basketball becomes not just a sport to casually watch, but a sport to seriously invest in and pay attention to. Think about the international implications too. Project B has backing from Saudi Arabia, which means they're thinking globally, and they're not just trying to appeal to American audiences, they're trying to build a global women's basketball empire, and that means partnerships, streaming deals, international marketing, endorsement opportunities that cross borders. That means Caitlin Clark could potentially have a global platform that's bigger than anything the WNBA could offer her, and that means exposure in markets that haven't traditionally followed women's basketball. The financial structure of Project B is also different from traditional sports leagues. They're not constrained by revenue sharing agreements or salary caps that limit what they can spend on player salaries, and they've got investor money backing them. They've got a business model that's designed from the ground up to be profitable and sustainable, and they're not trying to lose money for years and hope it eventually becomes profitable. They're coming in with a plan and the capital to execute that plan, and that's fundamentally different from how most sports leagues operate. What's also important to understand is that Sophie Cunningham getting followed is significant too. She's another young player with massive potential and a strong platform, and if both she and Caitlin sign with Project, but suddenly you've got two of the biggest names in women's basketball on the same team. You've got a rivalry element, you've got star power, you've got something that could legitimately compete with anything the WNBA is putting out there. And you've got a product that could break through to mainstream audiences because the names are there and the talent is undeniable. The bag is coming for women's basketball. The money is real and it's substantial and the opportunity is legitimate and well-funded. And Project B isn't messing around with amateur operations. They're bringing professional-grade infrastructure and investment. The Saudi backing ensures that there's serious capital behind this. And the co-founder's strategic follow list proves that there's a plan in motion and the future of women's basketball might be about to change forever in ways we haven't fully anticipated yet. This isn't speculation anymore. If you're looking at the evidence, this is what preparation looks like. This is what momentum looks like building. And this is what the next evolution of women's basketball looks like when you've got money, talent, and strategy aligned. That's the breakdown right there. The evidence is too strong to ignore, but I want to hear what you think. Is Caitlin taking this deal or not? Hit that like button if you think Project B is about to revolutionize women's basketball, and subscribe so you don't miss the official announcement when it drops.